In some cases, good morning. In most cases, good afternoon. I'm Trudy Murata, a volunteer community ambassador with AARP Virginia. Welcome to AARP Virginia's Jumpstart Your Job Search webinar, and thank you for joining us today. This program is scheduled to run about 75 minutes, but we may finish a bit early depending on how many questions you submit. We do have live closed captioning enabled. That is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you would like to enable closed captioning, you can do that. You may also use that button to stop closed captioning if that's not something you enjoy having during a webinar. AARP is the wise friend and fierce defender of older workers, and we have programs, offerings, and resources that can help you navigate today's job market. AARP advocates on behalf of older workers by strengthening policy, fighting age-related stereotypes, and influencing employers on the value of older workers and the business benefits of fostering an age-diverse workforce. In a highly competitive job market, consumers can count on AARP to help them navigate their job search and career path. As I'm sure you know, navigating today's ever-changing job market can be tough, but we're here to help you through it. You bring much needed expertise, maturity, and experience to the workplace. Whether you're starting a job search or looking to advance your career, AARP has custom tools and services that can help. In the reminder for today's email session, we included a link to download the slide presentation and a link to several resources that we'll share this afternoon. You will also receive a recording of this presentation via an email link as well. And I am thrilled to be joined this afternoon by Katherine Pons. Like me, Katherine is also an AARP community ambassador, and we're very fortunate to have her on our team. Prior to entering the career management field in 1995, Katherine held diverse management positions in executive recruitment, government, and nonprofits. Her corporate success includes revenue and profit in dynamic and highly competitive industry sectors, developing and overseeing execution of career, talent, and change management solutions, and helping organizations optimize their human capital, downsizing, and career management activities. Katherine is a contributing author of the Talent Management Handbook. While Katherine is indeed a professional career coach, her role here this afternoon is to provide general tips and resources on how to stay competitive in the job market. So with that, please give a warm welcome to Katherine Pons. Katherine, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Trudy. I appreciate that, and welcome everyone. I very much look forward to facilitating our session this afternoon. As Trudy mentioned, I will be pausing periodically for questions, so we do invite you to share those questions, and we will answer as many as time will allow. So thank you. In today's session, we're going to cover a tremendous amount of ground. You'll learn about using your skills in new ways, seeking educational opportunities, crafting your personal brand, networking, and updating and age-proofing your resume. Again, as Trudy mentioned, we have provided you some additional handout materials that you'll find very useful, not just through today's session, but useful as reference resources. So please, I encourage you to take advantage of that information. So despite what you may be reading about online and in the news, et cetera, about employers desperately being in need of employees, it is still a challenging time, to be looking for a job. Even in the best of times, such as now, job searches can be very frustrating, which makes today's unique challenges even more daunting. However, there are things that you can do to help you achieve your employment goals and be competitive in today's marketplace. As a contemporary job seeker, you need to nurture your network, market yourself, and define your unique value proposition. In the next session, we'll focus on the latter, exploring specific ways that you can take inventory of your current skills, determine which are most marketable, and pursue any missing skills that might help you begin the next part of your career. Employers look for skills in two categories, hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills, also referred to as work skills, are those required to do the job, such as network security, accounting, marketing, graphic design. These skills are typically learned and are quantifiable. For example, you can earn a degree or certification, or at least point to a course on a transcript showing that you have received training in a particular area. Or you can point to jobs that you've held that require those same skills. Soft skills, or what I often like to think of as fundamental skills, are more subjective and more difficult to quantify, such as an ability to communicate clearly, solve problems, manage your time, and be a team player. In many ways, these skills, which include your outlook and attitude, are gauges of how well you'll fit in. And if you think about it, when employers make a hire, they are interested primarily in three things. Can you do the job? Will you do the job? And will you fit in? Can you do the job requires your knowledge and ability to apply your hard skills. Will you do the job and will you fit in will tie into your soft skills. Employers want to be certain that you will work effectively with your coworkers, your supervisor, and as appropriate, the organization's clients. They also want to be sure that you can think on your feet and make smart decisions. Again, can you do the job? Will you do the job? Will you fit in? Even with the increased use of computers in the workplace and the recruitment process, human skills are actually hotter than ever. And job seekers who want to be competitive should focus on those soft skills. Soft skills, again, are, as we mentioned, so important right now. So let's spend a little more time talking about them. Of course, we all know that the job market is very competitive. And sometimes you might wonder what you can do to stand out from the crowd. Learning new skills can give you a competitive edge and make you more attractive. So the question we have for you today is, what are your soft skills? Take a look at this slide. It lists several soft skills: teamwork, adaptability, emotional intelligence, discernment, empathy, creative. Some of these might be unfamiliar to you, so here are a few definitions to help get you started. Emotional intelligence, which is so very important, is being aware of and in control of your own emotions, having social awareness and the ability to empathize with others. Cross-disciplinary thinking is bringing together different disciplines and employing multiple perspectives in new ways to solve problems. And discernment is knowing which information to pay attention to and which to discard. I'd like you to just take a moment and list those soft skills that you believe you possess. because those are going to be very important to include in your resume and also to integrate into your conversations as you're networking and with hiring authorities as well. Okay, so I hope you were able to jot down just a few of those soft skills that you have, because remember, as employers are looking at what remains a very competitive job market, they will focus more on individuals who not only have the hard skills they desire, that employers desire, but also on those job seekers who have the soft skills that will help them truly add value to the workplace. We want to talk a moment about transferable skills. Even if you're a plumber or a teacher today, that may not end up being your title in your next job. As such, you'll want to take note of the transferable skills that you bring with you. If you're switching industries, you are redeploying your skills that you already have in place. So for example, most soft skills are transferable to a new industry. But hard skills can be transferable as well, particularly technology skills. Depending upon the job you're applying for, you may want to highlight Microsoft Office, Google Suite, collaborative software, all of those skills that you can apply in multiple areas of expertise. So we've learned the difference between soft and hard skills, and we also considered which of those skills could be considered transferable. That is, those you can bring with you from one job to another. The final type of job skills we will cover in this presentation are those skills which you do not yet have. Developing new skills demonstrates flexibility and agility. So we'll discuss skill building opportunities in the coming slides. We must remember that job changes are very common and most importantly, very doable. And having a growth mindset will help us stay optimistic as we search. A growth mindset is a flexible mindset. It is the notion that everyone can learn and grow no matter their age or ability. And let me repeat that because this is where sometimes we get tangled up, particularly employers. Everyone can learn and grow no matter their age or ability. Now that we've taken inventory of our existing skills and identified the type of mindset we want to achieve, let's take a look at the many ways to learn new skills. Job seekers should consider both formal and informal learning opportunities to develop new and needed skills. We'll take a look at both. Experiential means learn by doing. Experiential education allows you to experience job-specific types of challenges and tasks so that you can obtain the needed skills. These can include adult internships, sometimes referred to as returnships, and return to work programs such as Path Forward, Reach Higher, and iRelaunch. To locate adult internships in your area, search adult internships on a job board. Volunteering is also a great way to learn something new and obtain new job skills. It can also help you plug gaps in your resume and expand your network, possibly leading to a new job. Though some volunteer opportunities might be limited due to the restrictions caused by the coronavirus, there are still ways to volunteer your services and stay sharp. Traditional volunteer opportunities might include shelters, food distribution, or museums and parks, while virtual and remote opportunities could include tutoring, training, or mentoring lower skilled workers, or even offering your skills pro bono to nonprofit institutions, for example, copy editing, project managing, designing. AARP's Create the Good volunteer opportunities are an excellent place to start. And here's the website for the Create the Good volunteer opportunity site. Experiential education and volunteering are just two of the many ways that you can learn new and valuable job skills. Let's explore that a bit more. Informal learning options are those that are outside the traditional realm of a college or university. Obtaining new skills informally can benefit job seekers during their active job searching and interview processes. Consider shorter courses and certificate programs that are tailored to a specific skill or job function, such as computer coding bootcamp or an online course at Udemy, edX, or Coursera. If you already have a degree, consider checking with your alma mater's Career Services Department. They may offer workshops and classes on job skills that you could add to your resume. You may even be able to audit courses as well that are delivered by the university. I want to make a very important point here. Wherever you search for new opportunities, please beware of common scams. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, offers this advice for avoiding job scams. Be extremely cautious about giving out your credit card or bank account information. Some swindlers will say that you have a job, but need to pay a fee for your application, training materials, or a certification. But once you've given out the sensitive financial information, the crooks can use it to make fraudulent purchases and commit other crimes. You also need to beware of, quote, pre-screenings. You may see ads from companies claiming to be employment agencies that can offer you job placement with major firms. All you have to do is set up a quick interview with them. Unfortunately, what can happen is that the people you speak with collect your personal data, turn around and sell it to other marketers. This is a practice called lead generation. That's why you should always research a company before you give out your information. Again, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of being cautious as you are conducting your job search campaign. Remember, if you can show a hiring manager that you are expanding your skills, it demonstrates a growth mindset, which is what job seekers should strive to have. Adding new job skills to your resume is a must-do for any serious job seekers. Now that we've covered informal opportunities, let's take a look at traditional ways to obtain new skills. And many of these you may be familiar with already. However, in addition to the informal learning opportunities we've discussed, colleges and universities also offer traditional education options. These can range from taking a few courses at a time for professional development, a series of courses at a time to obtain a certificate, or even pursuing a formal degree. Community colleges are an excellent resource to start with when pursuing traditional educational opportunities, as they are often conveniently located, low cost, or even free. and provide a flexible list of offerings that are available during the day, nighttime, weekend, and online. Some community colleges have partnerships with local employers that are looking to the community college to train on a particular skill set so that the employer can hire these people following the training. Check with your local community college to find out if they have this type of arrangement. And I think you may be pleasantly surprised how often community colleges do partner with local employers. So before we move on to discuss personal branding and other aspects of preparing for your job search, let's pause here and see if there are any questions. Trudy?
Sorry, Katherine. Sometimes it takes me a minute to use this technology. We have one question so far that is, do employers have tests that they give to prospective new employees to test their emotional intelligence?
Great question, Trudy. There are definitely situations for employers who do include testing as a part of their hiring process. Typically, you will not be asked to take a test unless you meet that first threshold of having the skills that an employer is looking for. And oftentimes the tests are determined not to specifically measure your emotional skills per se, as to measure, can be measuring your overall preferences, how you communicate, how you function with a team, and those types of soft skills. But those are not uncommon at all. Generally, employers will not use any testing as the sole determinant as to whether you'll be invited in for an interview, but don't be surprised if you are asked to complete some type of an assessment. Or don't try to second guess what the correct answers may be, because again, you have no way of knowing what profile the employer is looking for.
Along the same lines, I'll do one more question right now, and then we'll save the rest for later on. But it kind of falls in line with what you've just expressed. What type of information is okay for an employer to ask and what is not?
Again, another great question. Employers are held to certain parameters from a legal perspective. However, you may find, so for example, asking information about your age, asking about children you have and your health. Typically those questions are not allowed, but again, do keep in mind, those parameters may vary from state to state. However, if you are asked a question you feel uncomfortable about, again, you do want to make certain to pause and think about why the employer may be asking that question. So for example, if an employer asks a question about, so, do you have children? Your response may be something along the lines of, well, I suppose I'm pretty fortunate in that I've never had a problem balancing work with my personal and family life, period. So again, you do want to pause. What you do not want to say is, isn't that an illegal question? So again, what you're striving to do is think about what the question is behind the question, and again, just very professionally pull back. There are questions that may be applications, such as, have you ever been arrested? Have you been convicted of a crime? No matter how uncomfortable those questions may be, and typically if you encounter those questions, they will more often than not be on the application. I cannot overemphasize the importance of being honest and You can always put will discuss if you have some major concerns or anticipate that your response may be misinterpreted. You can always state will discuss.
Very good. I will acknowledge we do have more questions. I also know what's coming up in your next slides. So some of these questions may be addressed in what we're going to talk about going forward. But let's leave the questions for now at that, and I'll get back to them at the next break, Katherine.
Great. Thank you, Trudy. Okay, now let's talk about moving to the nuts and bolts of the job search process and begin to talk a bit about who you are in the context of your personal brand. Just like large companies make sure their mission statement, website, and marketing materials are cohesive and tell the story of their business, sometimes called their brand, AARP wants to help you do the same thing. So this is sometimes referred to as your personal brand. And let's delve into what that means. And we'll start with the concept of an elevator pitch. Perhaps you've heard that terminology. It's a short introduction that highlights what makes you unique. And I emphasize the word short. It can also demonstrate the value you can bring to a company or organization. It's great to develop this so that when you get to the interview and have that question, so tell me about yourself, you have an immediate and prepared response. You want to think about 2 or 3 things you do really, really well. These will be the qualities or skills that are so fundamental to who you are that doing them is completely natural. Once you've identified these things, come up with examples of how you've done that in your work life or how you have applied those skills in your work life, in volunteering, or even in your day-to-day life. By using these qualities and examples, it should be easier for you to talk about your strengths and accomplishments convincingly and without hesitation, because these are things you truly believe about yourself, and you believe them from an objective perspective. For instance, being creative, reliable, balanced, dedicated, or even motivated are all things you may want to highlight during your elevator pitch. Also emphasize concrete accomplishments in your elevator pitch, such as I was able to grow the program by 50% without additional budget. Let's take a look at an example. So take a look at and read through that example. So what we have included here are answers to important questions. Who am I? What do I do best? How have I made an impact? What sets me apart from the competition? How can I make a difference for this company? And I want to emphasize that how can I make a difference for this company? Because remember, again, this job searching is a competitive process. Now, with the materials we've shared with you, we have some additional examples of elevator pitches so that you can begin to draft your own pitch. Again, remember 30 to 60 seconds. And I encourage you to share your pitch with others out loud, not just in writing, but state it. Family, friends, former colleagues, current colleagues, so that not only are you comfortable with the content, but you are comfortable stating that pitch. Now, don't shudder too much, but we're going to spend some time talking about networking. Networking may sound daunting and you may be shuddering when you hear the word, but it just means connecting and communicating with businesses and people. If you connect with companies and players in your industry, it can demonstrate to recruiters that you're engaged with their organization and that you're active in the industry. Let's take a look at some of the most common ways to build your network. Connecting within your industry is a great way to start networking with other like-minded people. Meetups can be virtual, and of course, in today's world of COVID, quite frequent, or in person. Locate these opportunities by looking for career transition events or skills training sessions. You can also search for industry-specific terms on social platforms like Meetup or Eventbrite. Conventions and conferences, both virtual and in person, and alumni events are also excellent ways to network. Again, search for your specific field to locate these opportunities. Many companies maintain online talent communities that you can also join, either by directly applying for a job there or by filling out a short form. If there are companies that you are specifically targeting in your job search, and I hope there are, see if they have a career section on their site and whether or not they have a Join Our Talent Community option. Typically, you will provide your name, contact information, career areas of interest, and your resume. You can then get updates from the company on open positions, career events, etc. A recruiter from that company may even reach out to you if a job comes up that could be a fit for you. Networking through social media is also a vital component of today's job searches. Up to 92% of recruiters use social media to find job candidates, and they also use social media to validate candidates' professional identity and work history. Your online presence can help you or hurt you in your job search. For example, it can highlight your personality and qualifications to show what you could bring to the workplace. It can also allow employers to learn things about you that you might not want them to know. All of this is called your social media footprint. One easy way to see what's in your social media footprint is to type your name into a search engine to see what pops up. And when you do that, not only look at what comes up immediately, but also look at the images or photos that are associated with your name. If you get anything that you wouldn't want a prospective employer to see, try removing it from wherever it's posted, or even adjust your privacy settings so that it doesn't show up in your public search. And again, here are some examples of social media. So first, let's work through your existing social media footprint. There are many other things you can do to mediate it. They include controlling the privacy settings on your social media accounts, avoiding controversial topics in your postings and conversations, ensuring that all photos are appropriate for a workplace to view, and thinking carefully before you post or tweet. What would I want an employer to read about me? And again, I just cannot emphasize this enough. Periodically, I've had individuals say, well, that's just me. Well, you can't decline an offer you do not receive. And when you look at your social media footprint, you may be shooting yourself in the foot, as it were, and not even allowing yourself an opportunity to gain an interview because you are just being yourself. So you want to be very, very careful about expressing opinions and having inappropriate photos on your social media. It's a good idea also to follow leaders in your field and to establish yourself as a credible and knowledgeable voice in your field of expertise by contributing to discussions and posting content that is of interest to your fellow professionals. Incorporating these actions into your daily social media usage will make them a normal part of your routine. Now that we've explored your existing social media footprint, let's look into leveraging your existing connections with others. Don't forget about your personal connections outside of your professional life. If it feels appropriate to do so, reach out to neighbors, past coworkers, and friends to let them know that you're looking for new opportunities. In addition to making connections in your industry and on your social networks, leveraging your existing personal connections is a great way to get started with networking. And let me interject here. As a hiring authority, in the past, whenever I've had a need to hire someone for my team, I've always reached out to family, friends, and former colleagues. And I have absolutely hired people who were referred to me by family and friends. So don't minimize the importance of incorporating family and friends into your networking activities as you are engaged in your job search. You never know who they know and who they know who may be actively looking to hire. The more connections you have, the better your chances of discovering that a friend of a friend of a friend is hiring for a job that's perfect for you. So perhaps networking isn't quite so daunting after all. So now that we've covered networking, the basics of networking and connecting with others, let's move on to our next topic, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the largest professional networking site in the world, with over 575 people with profiles on their site, and that number expands daily. If you're serious about finding a job, you do need to be on LinkedIn. Don't worry if you don't have an account yet, and accounts are free, just to reinforce that. We'll share some tips to help you get started. LinkedIn helps you establish a virtual network and expand your connections beyond just friends and family. First-degree connections on LinkedIn are people you currently know, family, friends, colleagues, and other professionals. Second-degree connections are the people your first-degree connections know. Both levels of connections can lead to job leads and potential openings to aid in your job search. Once your LinkedIn profile is established, you may be surprised how far your connections can reach. Having an insider's support can increase your chances for winning the job. The best way to get started is by creating a profile and exploring all that LinkedIn has to offer. Here's some specific tips for creating the best LinkedIn profile that will be sure to attract attention. By default, your headline will be your current job title. You'll want to change that or modify it to something bolder that also aligns with your personal brand. When writing your summary, be sure to incorporate keywords that are relevant to your field. This will make it easier for recruiters to find you while they are searching for candidates. Additionally, be sure to list specific skills in your profile. According to LinkedIn research, people who list specific skills on their profile get 13 times more views than those who have broader and less specific statements. Make sure your photo is a professional headshot and that it features only you, no family or friends in the background. Finally, be sure to create a custom URL for your LinkedIn page to make it memorable and easy to list on business cards and resumes. LinkedIn will generate, and it always will generate, a generic URL associated with your profile. And typically it will be your name and a series of numbers and or letters. So removing the numbers and letters and having only your name will make it easier for people to locate and will also look more appropriate on your resume. And again, do not underestimate the frequency with which hiring organizations will look at your LinkedIn profile. I also want to interject here the importance of leveraging the help section of LinkedIn. We are sharing LinkedIn information with you with our handouts today, but also keep in mind that LinkedIn does have very robust resources right on their site. You also want to consider groups on LinkedIn. These will allow you to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your industry and allow you to stay relevant. Groups are also a great place to expand your network. For example, consider joining alumni networks, companies you've worked for, and industry and job function groups. LinkedIn groups are a great way to connect, but be sure to contribute to the conversation to maximize your visibility and connection opportunities. When using LinkedIn, also try the following actions as well. Like and comment on people's content. Share articles that you've read and liked within your area of expertise. Use the open to work feature. You can also, keep in mind, use that open to work feature discreetly so that it's only visible to those outside of your company. Sign up for alerts so that you know when new positions are posted and apply early. Use the platform to build relationships strategically. Don't just message people out of the blue when you need help. Again, there needs to be a reason for that connection. Excuse me. Now let's take a look at navigating job boards. Because again, this is where you will find numerous potential job opportunities. Job searches today have changed a lot from the days of printed resumes and printed ads. Today's job searchers must also be prepared for multiple rounds of phone, virtual, and in-person interviews. In this section, we'll review online job boards, remote and flexible work opportunities, working with recruiters, and more. Online job boards are websites dedicated to connecting employers with potential new hires. Employers post open positions on these job boards, and then job seekers search through listings and apply online. New jobs are posted frequently, so you'll want to search each site regularly for openings. You'll have the best results if you narrow your search to find the jobs that are just right for you. In other words, the best fit for your experience, skills, and goals for your future career. Also, be sure to set up automatic notifications on your favorite job boards so that you can be notified by email of new job postings relevant to you. This will save you a tremendous amount of time. And by the way, do keep in mind that as we discussed LinkedIn, LinkedIn does maintain a very robust job board as well. Now let's explore an emerging type of employment opportunity, remote or virtual employment opportunities. While remote work has taken on a new life of its own of late due to COVID, it continues to be a viable option for job seekers. However, working from home comes with some challenges, and employers want to know you're ready to hit the ground running. Again, I cannot emphasize how important this is in today's world of work, because not only do you have your remote and or virtual work opportunities, but what's beginning to emerge are what will be known as hybrid opportunities, where you may be asked to work from home 2 or 3 days a week and work in the office the balance of the week. Having a dedicated home office is the first way you can demonstrate to remote employers that you're ready and able to work from home. You also need to be sure to include any remote work experience you already have on your resume and LinkedIn profile. Also list any casual experience, which is work that you've done outside of a 9-to-5 job that may have been remote, such as overseeing someone else's finances, freelancing, etc., that will demonstrate your ability to work independently. Online classes or other remote training can also prove your tech skills and ability to work independently, as can experience working with colleagues and clients in different locations, cities, time zones. No matter what type of employment opportunity you're seeking, there are professionals who can help you obtain it. And these would be recruiters. Let's talk a bit about recruiters. Working with a recruiter can help you focus your job search. Recruiters can be industry specific and even leverage their own connections. And by the way, here we are speaking of external recruiters versus internal recruiters who work for specific companies. While landing a job through a recruiter can end up being a win-win for both of you, it's also important to keep in mind that the recruiter is working for the employers and not you. In other words, recruiters have been retained by employers to find qualified individuals who meet the needs of the hiring company. Make sure you do your homework if you choose to work with a recruiter. It's important to be wary of claims like 99% success rate, guaranteed higher salary, or finding you, quote, unposted jobs. And never, ever, ever pay a recruiter to find you a job. Recruiters are paid by the hiring employers if you get the job. Again, never pay a recruiter to find you a job. If you do want to work with a recruiter as part of your job hunting strategy, go for it. You can track them down by using the methods they employ to find their candidates via networking, referrals from colleagues, and social media. So let's pause here and see what questions you may have. Trudy?
I'm here, Katherine, sorry. I want to go back to LinkedIn because that was the most current slides, although we do have some other questions as well. And the question with regard to LinkedIn was, hold on one second. Once you have skills on LinkedIn, are you able to change them? This individual has the maximum number of skills and have yet to figure out how to delete those that are no longer pertinent to that particular job search and add more current skills.
Very good question. One can always update their LinkedIn profile, update and or edit. So if you go to your profile, there should be an option to edit your profile. And with that, you can delete those skill sets that are no longer relevant. You can add other skill sets. If there are new experiences you have, you can add those. And if, say, for example, you are pursuing a certification now to enhance your qualifications, you can include that as well. So you can include something along the lines of currently pursuing X type of certification. So again, you can always edit your profile. If you have difficulty finding that, go to the help section of LinkedIn, and there's information there that will take you directly to that option.
Okay. Katherine, I'm having just a tiny bit of a challenge with your audio. So yeah, I was just going to ask you, while I'm asking this next question, if you could lean in to your computer or microphone, or
okay, thank you for letting me know.
Okay, you're coming across perfectly loud and clear, but during the question and answers, it's fading just a tiny bit. Okay. So I will let you regroup. I normally sing during these intermissions, but no, you don't want to hear that. Okay. Okay. Let's try that, see if that's better.
Okay, so is this better?
That is better. Perfect. Thank you very much. And the next question is along those same lines. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions as to how many years you can go without updating your headshot? This is almost true for me personally. I have a headshot from my 30s. I'm now in my 50s, and I don't think I've changed all that much. What are your thoughts, Katherine?
Well, again, if it is an accurate representation of how you look, of your appearance, then you should be fine. But again, it can be very helpful to get feedback, objective feedback from others.
Very good. Can you get part-time jobs through recruiters or LinkedIn? And any suggestions as to how to look for part-time jobs specifically?
Absolutely. With most job boards, including LinkedIn, when you set up your profile for jobs of interest, you are able to designate part-time jobs. So again, this is the case for LinkedIn, and for many, and for most job boards I'm familiar with, you can always designate part-time as an area of interest.
Okay, just a couple more on this subject. Do your LinkedIn contacts get notifications every time you change your profile or update your skills?
You can make that designation with your profile. So you can set up your profile so that your contacts do not receive updates or receive updates. So that is totally up to you. Personally, I find that if you're going to be updating your profile routinely, as in every other week or something of that nature, it can become annoying to your contacts. But if you are in the midst of a job search now and you haven't updated your profile in a while, it's a good idea for your contacts to know that you have updated your profile.
Very good. Let's do one more question here. I do want to acknowledge that I see the other questions that are there, and it looks as though we will in fact have time to address them at the end, but let's address this one now. Many sites insist on entering your year of graduation and academic achievements. How do you get around that?
If you are unable to proceed with completing the requested profile without including that, you have no choice but to include it. And, again, it's unfortunate that sometimes that information will not be treated professionally, but there are occasions where you have to complete an online profile and which you are unable to complete without that information. Follow the directions, complete it, and move on.
Very good. Again, I just want to acknowledge, I see your questions in the Q&A box and appreciate them. It looks as though we will in fact have time to address them at the end, but let's continue from here, Katherine.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move forward and talk about your interview, your virtual interview, which is certainly becoming much more common. In some virtual interviews, you'll talk with a person, while others you'll be asked to respond to recorded questions. Since COVID, both of those approaches have become more and more common. In either case, these tips can help. Your first step is to test your technology. Check your equipment. Make sure you have a dependable internet connection, webcam, and headset or earphones. All of those are a must. If you're preparing for a live video interview, you should download the application software and set up an account beforehand. Next, be sure to look your best. Dress the same as you would for an in-person interview. And remember that solid colors typically look better than patterns on camera. And again, I want to emphasize, dress completely as you will for an interview, because the last thing you want to happen during the interview is to stand up, and while you're looking completely professional from the top, you have on pajamas at the bottom. So you want to just make sure you maintain a professional appearance. Adjust your computer so the camera lens on your screen is level with the top of your head and look directly into the camera lens. You might have to perch your laptop on top of a few books or adjust your chair height. Also, this is essential, pay attention to lighting. The light should be in front of you, not behind you. And you also want to look at what will appear behind you on the screen. Be sure to remove clutter and personal items. Once everything is set up, practice with a friend or family member on the platform you will be using. And remember to smile. Finally, think on your feet. Put sticky notes on your screen to remind you of important talking points about why you're a good fit for the job. Be prepared to ask questions and also have your resume handy. During the interview, if you encounter technical difficulties or something goes awry, speak up. It happens. When your interview is finished, smile and say thank you while continuing to look at the camera until the recording or interview stops. Interviewing remotely may feel strange or intimidating at first, but knowing these tips can help you be prepared and help you ace your next video interview. And remember, practice, practice, practice. Now let's talk about resumes. Even the most distinguished career can be overlooked because of a poorly formatted resume. A resume that is lacking design aesthetics will fail to guide recruiters through a clear narrative of your background. To help you market yourself to prospective employers, begin by focusing on standardizing your resume's overall design. Add features such as headers, page numbers, and subheads to clearly define each section. Also work on giving the document more visual balance by separating your achievements from the routine tasks throughout your work history section. And again, we've shared a number of resources with you today that will allow you to go on to the AARP site and gather more information about resumes as well as take a look at some sample resumes as well. So let's take a moment and get some information about where you are with your resume by asking you to respond to the following poll questions. So how current is your resume?
We have an audience that's a whole lot quicker in their response than I am in turning my mic and my video on and off. We're getting good responses here, Katherine. And it looks like we have slowed down. How current is your resume? We asked within the last month, within the last year, within the last 3 years. Not even sure if you could track down the file. And the good news is 32% of our audience has a current resume within the last month, 29% within the last 3 years, 26% within the last year, and 13% are in the same boat I am. Not even sure I could track down the file. Go ahead, Katherine.
That's great, Trudy. Thank you. And again, it's important to not be discouraged if you don't feel that your resume is top-notch or as current as you would like it to be, because we're going to talk a bit about updating your resume. So as you begin to revise your resume, keep in mind that the average recruiter spends 10 seconds or less looking at individual resumes. Make sure that you've highlighted your core skills in a snapshot. Your resume should be no more than 2 pages, and the design simple and clean. And by the way, for most people who have more than 10 or more years of experience, a 1-page resume is rarely going to be comprehensive with crucial information. So aim for 2 pages. Keep your font clear and direct. Do not use charts, graphs, symbols, things of that nature. Organize your important details with bullet points. It's critical that you use action verbs in the present tense for a current job and in the past tense for previous jobs. Again, action words are essential. Finally, the focus should be on your quantifiable achievements, not tasks that you perform daily as part of your job description. Remember, this is your opportunity to stand out from the crowd. Your resume speaks for you so that you make sure that you're sending the right message. You also want to age-proof your resume. 15 years or less information is what's expected. Because again, if you're concerned about facing bias during your job search, these are all ways that help minimize, not hide, but minimize the likelihood that you will be overlooked because of your age. You also want to make certain that you are using a current email provider. So for example, if you have an AOL email address, you want to make sure, or even a Yahoo email address, you want to make sure that you are using Gmail or other more current email provider. As we discussed earlier, no graduation dates on your resume. You also want to highlight your technology skills and avoid listing your overall years of experience. So for example, rather than saying 25 years experience, you want to zero in on the quality of experience. So significant marketing skills or comprehensive marketing skills, etc. You also want to use keywords. remember, employers are interested in your most relevant experience. So again, you're not hiding your earlier professional experience as much as focusing on the experience that is going to be most relevant to hiring authorities. As I mentioned, there are a plethora of resources available on the AARP site that will go into much greater detail about what we have discussed, and particularly the resume, because being able to look at sample resumes and then make certain that you're using relevant formatting and that your language is as it should be can be very, very valuable. So Trudy, what questions, additional questions do we have?
Okay. Because you just said it within the last couple of slides, one of our guests has asked if you could repeat what you said or perhaps elaborate on the words separate achievements. I think it was slide 31.
Yes.
Separate achievements needs clarification.
Right. With your resume, what you will typically do for each position held is lead in with a summary of the scope of your role. And then below that, using bullets, articulate your achievements. So summation of your role, and then below that, your specific achievements using strong action words.
Very good. The next question is, which is better, a Word or a PDF format?
Great question. You want to create your resume, obviously, in Word, and then always save a PDF version of your resume. And then you're able to share your resume using the PDF version. And that way your formatting will be consistent regardless of what type of software the recipient of your email, of your resume rather, has.
Very good. One of our guests attended a resume seminar recently, and at that webinar, they were advised not to use headers because the ATS will not capture header information. Can you comment on that, Katherine?
Yes, and again, ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. And most companies now, not all, but most companies use some version of an applicant tracking system. Again, having a header on your resume will not necessarily be the be all and the end all of getting you through the ATS system. But once you get through the ATS and you're put in the short stack for further review, that is when having a header can be valuable. So that's one of the aspects of a resume that I consider not a hard do or don't. But remember, your resume will eventually be looked at by a human being, and that's where the header or the summary statement can certainly be valuable.
Okay. Katherine, what suggestions do you have for our guests when their relevant experience is 15 years old or older?
I'm glad you asked that, Trudy, because some of you may be returning to work after having been out of the workplace. Others may be looking to engage in work that you did 25 years ago. So what you want to do in that instance is ideally use a resume that has a functional format. And as you look at sample resumes, again, on the AARP site, you will see examples of your chronological resume, which is what most of us are accustomed to seeing, or a functional or skills-based resume. With that functional resume, what you're doing is you're starting out with your skills that you are highlighting for the jobs you are seeking. And you have the ability to highlight those by zeroing in on your accomplishments that may have taken place 25 or 30 years ago. So you're leading in with those accomplishments and then listing chronologically your professional experience. So look for that type of sample resume on the AARP site, and that should help you because what you're doing is you are emphasizing the relevant experience for the types of jobs you are seeking. One other point is if you're seeking to do something you haven't engaged in quite some time, or you've been out of the job market for a significant period of time, it is also imperative that you lean heavily on your network.
Excellent. How do you address the fact that you may be taking a step down in responsibilities? We have one guest who has been a part-time caregiver for a parent and can't invest as much time in a career position now as they did previously. How do you address the step down in responsibilities aspect?
That will often come up as a question during the interview, once you get to the interview. And the question will often be phrased, aren't you overqualified for this position? And keep in mind, you're either qualified or you're not. But this is an opportunity to say, perhaps looking at who I am on paper professionally, it may appear that way. However, because of where I am currently with my career, this is a type of position I am interested in now. And then you can go on to highlight your experiences that support your ability to execute the role very well. I want to add here, back to that networking. When you are looking to reduce the amount of accountability or responsibility you have, you do want to make certain that you leverage your network, because that can give you that shortcut directly to the hiring authority, who will likely be more interested in you because you have been referred by a common contact.
Very good. Katherine, we're coming down to the end of our time limit. I do acknowledge that there are a couple more questions in the box that we won't be able to get to, but in looking at them, a lot of these questions can be answered with the resource material that we provided either at the welcoming email that was sent out or the follow-up email. And just remind everyone that we will be sending out a follow-up email that will include a survey to let us know how we did on this particular presentation, but also have a recording, a link to a recording of this presentation as well. Before we end, Katherine, is there anything else you want to say in closing?
Yes, just to conclude, it's so important to think about how you can use your skills in a new way. Don't overlook educational opportunities, because it not only demonstrates that you have new skills, but it also demonstrates your willingness to learn. Take the time to focus on your personal brand and develop that elevator pitch or 30-second commercial. You've heard me reference networking ad nauseum, but it works, trust me. Yes, having hired many, many people through networking, I can assure you it works. And then be sure you update age-proof your resume, leveraging the resources that we've shared with you today. So thank you so much for your time.
Very good. Thank you, Katherine. On behalf of AARP Virginia, I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon and express our gratitude and my personal gratitude to Katherine for sharing her valuable time and expertise with us today. We'd love to get your feedback on our program, so in the chat box, you will see a link to a survey. Please click on the link and take a few moments to share your feedback with us. We will also send this link in a follow-up email. If you enjoyed today's program and want to join us again, we'll be offering this program again in March, and you can get the details for that program and all of our upcoming events on our calendar of events at www.aarp.org/virtual-VA. That's aarp.org/virtual-VA. Until then, we wish you the best in your job search and your job journey, and good luck with your career. And again, thank you for joining us here today. Katherine, thank you. AARP team, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon.